Guys, for doing a clutch replacement on a Massey 165, here's what I've done to this. I've had the flywheel turned. Make sure that you turn the offset down in here where this clutch mounts off. If they take 10,000 off the back, they're going to make sure you take 10,000 off this lip, because then the clutch won't work. And I always recommend having the clutch turned, because if not, the clutch will drag slightly because there'll be a high spot or warp spot in the clutch. When you put this clutch in, make sure that you put it in the right direction. If you don't, then she's going to get into the bolts into your flywheel. Now that I got the transfer case off, or transmission off, I took the throwout bearing and gearing out of the tail end of the transmission and use it for an alignment point. And that you don't have to have the tool. It just unbolts forward, bolts on the front, comes apart. There's only a little O-ring gasket around it. That's all you need in that to reseal it. You can pull that in, the tail end out of your transmission to line your Massey 165. And so that is basically put it in there, make sure she's good in line and good and loose, and then tighten up your bolts. That will get that. And don't forget to replace your throwout bearing. Very, very important, because if you don't, you'll just be wasting your time. So having your flywheel turn, new throwout bearing, and clutch, that run you about $150 to $200 to replace that. You can take it to your local machine shop and he can turn that down. Don't forget to take off the difference on this inside lip where this mounts up to, because if you take 10,000 off the back and then bolt this up, your clutch ain't going to work. It'll start slipping. So you got to take 10,000s off the face side of that. And then that's primary. You don't have to remove your starter to take it all apart. And that's the primary fix of fixing your clutch for a Massey 165. Now it's going to be different, the one with the two-stage clutch. They're a little bit different. This one has an independent towards the rear end, has a clutch pack for the PTO. The other ones had two-stage clutches where you push the clutch down halfway and the other way it disengaged the PTO. I kind of like those better than the clutch pack in the rear, because fluid sometimes runs forward through the gearing and then you lose pickup for your PTO. I'm going to come up with a fix to keep fluid from transferring from that rear end and going through these holes. And that will slow down the fluid from running all into here, into your gearbox, and losing power to your transmission. I mean to your PTO. Again, you may come up with some kind of baffle system to slow that process down. So I'd recommend doing that. What happens is when you go downhill on these tractors, fluid runs through that that rear end all towards the front end. If you overfill your tractor, it'll start leaking out the rear end of the seals and the front end of your transmission. You can't overfill them, they'll start leaking. So hopefully I'll have another video on about the baffles between your Massey 165 for independent clutch pack for your thing. You can see this back here. That is your PTO clutch pack for your Massey 165 for the that's separate. It's hydraulically driven. This multi-power pump, you can see these lines feeding around, goes to that hydraulic valve, which ends up running, you barely see in the back there, some hydraulic lines there. It feeds right onto, you can see right there, feeds right onto that, putting pressure on those set of discs. So if you got a Massey 165 with two-stage clutch, you're way off or way better. So I'll get back with you on another video on creating a baffle. But again, use the tail end of your transmission to line your clutch up.